The violins played soft in the distance, glittering lights draped over the chandeliers like frost on glass. People in tuxedos and satin gowns floated through the golden hall of Langston Manor, one of the oldest private estates in New York. It was the kind of place people rented to show the world just how untouchable they were. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I stood near the corner of the ballroom, dressed in a simple navy dress, not cheap, not expensive, the kind of thing that said I came here out of obligation, not to show off. I shouldn't have come. I knew that now. Why is she even here? My cousin Vanessa whispered to another bridesmaid, her gaze flicking toward me like I was gum on her shoe. She was marrying into British aristocracy today, or at least pretending to, and every breath she took screamed entitlement. I tried to ignore it. I hadn't come to cause drama. I came because I was invited, barely. But then, she's a waste of space. My Uncle Jared roared from across the ballroom, voice echoing over the soft music. Heads turned. Conversation stopped. I blinked. The crowd parted around me like I had some disease, and Uncle Jared stomped toward me, eyes blazing. His tuxedo jacket was unbuttoned, his hair slicked back like a villain from a Wall Street movie. "What did you just say?" I asked, my voice steady. "You heard me," he spat. "You come here acting like you belong? Wearing that?" His hand jabbed toward my dress, disgust curling his lip. "You're lucky we did not invite you after what your father did." I froze. My chest squeezed. Then he did it. In one violent motion, he reached forward and ripped the gold necklace from around my neck. It was the only thing I had left from my mom. The clasp snapped. The chain hit the floor. The ballroom gasped. My hand flew to my throat. My voice cracked. That was my mother's. She should have taken it with her, Jared hissed. "Enough," I shouted, finally snapping. My eyes burned, but I refused to cry. Not in front of them. Not again. Then my stepmother chimed in, voice like acid. "She's lucky we even let her in. If it weren't for Vanessa being kind-hearted, you wouldn't have stepped one foot into this building." Kind-hearted? I laughed bitterly. "She's as plastic as the tiara on her head." Gasps. Murmurs. I didn't care anymore. I looked at all of them. My uncle, my stepmother, my cousin, the entire smug, gloating family that had humiliated me, whispered about me, written me off like I was nothing more than a charity case. I bent down, slowly picked at my broken necklace, then stood tall. And I said it. "You'll be begging soon." They laughed. But then, the ballroom doors opened. Heavy footsteps echoed against the marble. Everyone turned. And then they saw him. He was wearing a black tailored suit, no tie, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. His presence changed the air. My husband, Cole Carter, former Silicon Valley ghost. Now a billionaire investor whose name made bankers and CEOs lose sleep. They all went pale. Jared took a step back. Vanessa's fiancé froze mid-laugh. My stepmother's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Cole walked past them like they were invisible. His eyes found mine, and the warmth in them melted everything that had frozen inside me. He reached out, gently brushed my shoulder where the necklace had been ripped off, and looked me over like he was checking for wounds. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. I nodded. He turned to Jared and the rest of them, and for a second, just a second, I saw fear. "You touched my wife," Cole said. "That was your first mistake." Cole's voice didn't rise. He didn't need to yell. The stillness in the room was worse than any explosion. Every guest stood frozen, some clutching their glasses mid-sip, others awkwardly lowering their phones after trying to sneak a video. Even the waiters paused by the doors, sensing something more real than any royal fantasy unfolding in front of them. My uncle's jaw clenched, but his hand trembled. "Who the hell do you think you are, talking to me like?" "I know exactly who I am." Cole cut him off, stepping forward. "I'm the man who owns the deed to the very estate you're standing in. Langston Manor was sold off 5 weeks ago. And I bought it." Dead silence. The color drained from my stepmother's face. Vanessa blinked rapidly, her manicured fingers twitching around her champagne flute. My cousin's fiancé subtly stepped away from the bridal table, pretending not to notice the train wreck forming. Liar, Jared barked. Langston Manor belongs to the Whitmore family. We've held it for generations. Not anymore, Cole said coolly. Check the records. He pulled a folded document from his jacket and let it fall onto the nearest table. Someone rushed to grab it. A sharp intake of breath confirmed what Cole already knew. His name was right there. Owner. Sole authority. You bought this place? I whispered, stunned. Cole looked at me and shrugged, almost sheepishly. I knew they invited you just to humiliate you. I figured we'd give them something to remember. And I wasn't supposed to find out until when? I asked, tears suddenly springing up, not from pain, but from the sheer whiplash of everything. After dessert, he smirked. Jared lunged forward, but a security guard, one of Cole's personal staff, appeared out of nowhere and blocked him. Don't. Cole didn't even look at him. He turned to the crowd instead. Everyone who laughed, who watched her get humiliated, you're all complicit. You think wealth makes you untouchable. But you've forgotten the most important currency in this world, character. His voice dropped. My wife has more of it in her little finger than the lot of you combined. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I just watched. Cole took my broken necklace from my palm, the one Jared had ripped off. He held it delicately like it was gold-plated glass, then looked around the ballroom. Anyone here want to apologize to her? Nobody spoke. He nodded. Didn't think so. Vanessa's father, a banking tycoon, finally stepped forward, a smug smile creeping back onto his face. Listen, Mr. Carter, we didn't mean offense. We were just arrogant. Cole offered. Entitled? Vicious? Take your pick. Business is business, the man replied stiffly. Cole narrowed his eyes. Good. Then here's some business. You and your firm? Blacklisted. As of tonight, every VC firm I have influence in, and that's most of Silicon Alley and Wall Street, will no longer take your calls. The man's face fell. My wife came here in good faith, Cole continued. She dressed with grace, stood with humility, and endured your cruelty without ever stooping to your level. Then Cole turned to me. But she doesn't need to be silent anymore. I blinked. What are you saying? He reached into his jacket again and pulled out a small velvet box. Say the word, he said softly, and I'll make them watch you shine like the star they tried to bury. I opened the box. A new necklace. Emerald-cut diamond center. Platinum chain. Radiant. Pure. Worth more than this entire wedding. I looked up at the crowd, who were still frozen in disbelief. And I smiled. I didn't need to say anything. Not right away. I let the silence sink in. Let them feel it. Let them all choke on the same silence they gave me every time I walked into a room, pretending I was invisible. The same silence they weaponized when they whispered behind my back, wondering why a girl like me was even born into this family. But now? Now the room that once mocked me whispered my name. Is that Cole Carter's wife? She's wearing a diamond worth more than the venue. She warned them she said they'd be begging. I turned slightly and looked at Vanessa. Her wedding gown, custom-made, hand-embroidered, flown in from Paris, suddenly looked less royal and more desperate. Her eyes flicked between Cole and me. She wasn't smiling anymore. Vanessa, I said gently, you once told me you'd marry a prince, and I'd die alone with my books and my boring mind. I stepped forward. But here I am. And there you are, married to a man who had to borrow a title from another country just to look impressive. The silence cut deep. And me, I said with a little smile. I married a man who didn't need a title because he built his own kingdom. Jared's voice cracked as he pointed a shaking finger. This is a wedding. You've ruined it. You think your husband's money gives you power over us. No, I said calmly. But my dignity does. Something you never had. My stepmother finally stepped forward, her lips twisted with a fake, trembling smile. Sweetheart, we were just emotional. This is Vanessa's big day. We may have gotten carried away. You stood there, I interrupted, while your husband ripped a memory of my mother from my neck. You said I was lucky to even be let in. You watched and smiled. She froze. I have nothing left to say to you, I finished. You lost the right to call me family years ago. I just didn't realize how deep the rot went until tonight. Cole gently slipped the new necklace around my neck, clasping it with a kind of reverence men save for sacred things. My breath caught as it rested against my collarbone.
Cool.
Weighty.
Real.
He whispered, just for me. Let them see who they tried to break. And I did. I stepped forward into the center of the ballroom, the very heart of the empire they tried to exclude me from. And I didn't just walk. I claimed it. 1 step.
2.
Then I turned, faced the crowd, and lifted a single hand. Cole nodded to the band. The violins shifted.
The song changed.
Not to Vanessa's pick, no. It was my mother's favorite melody. A haunting, elegant piece that echoed through the room like a ghost reclaiming her throne. You can't hijack my wedding, Vanessa shrieked, but her voice cracked on the last word. This is my day. Cole raised a brow. We own the venue, remember? You're actually trespassing. Security, Jared barked. But no one moved. Because they weren't his security. They were Cole's. I turned to Vanessa one last time. Enjoy your royal wedding, I said softly. Just know, the only crowns in this room are the ones you tried to steal. Vanessa's jaw clenched so hard, I thought she might break a tooth. You're pathetic, she hissed. You think walking in here with some billionaire makes you better than us? Makes you royalty now. I didn't answer her. I didn't have to, because the room already had. Everyone, the same guests who once treated me like a joke, now looked at me with awe, curiosity, some even with guilt. Not because I'd suddenly become someone new, but because they finally saw who I always was. And that scared them. Vanessa's new husband stepped toward her, whispering in her ear, maybe don't escalate this, but she shoved him off, shaking with rage. She was nothing. A reject. A scholarship brat. How dare she stand here and act like. Enough, Cole said, his voice cold now. And then he turned. I tried to be polite, he said to Vanessa and her parents. I really did. I came here for her. But you crossed a line. He walked slowly toward the center table, the table reserved for the bride, groom, and inner family. He reached into his jacket again and pulled out a thin file. I was going to wait until Monday, he said, placing the folder on the table. But I think now works better. Jared's face twitched. What the hell is that? Cole looked straight at him. The foreclosure notice.
Gasps.
Dead silence. I bought out the mortgage to your firm's Manhattan office, Cole said. You know, the one your entire portfolio is tied to. You used it as collateral to fund your daughter's royal wedding. You thought no one would notice the balloon payment due today. Jared went pale. No, you didn't. Oh, I did, Cole said, almost pitying. And I'm calling it in. Vanessa's father lunged for the file, opening it with trembling fingers, scanning the signature at the bottom. It was real. My uncle stumbled backward and grabbed the edge of a chair, sinking into it as though his legs gave out. My stepmother suddenly looked 50 years older. Her pride drained. Her superiority cracked open. You said we'd be family, she whispered to me. You said I was lucky to be let in, I reminded her. She clutched her pearl necklace like a noose. I stepped forward now, and my voice was calm. No shouting. No anger. Just truth. I was never after revenge, I told them. I didn't even know Cole was planning this. But tonight? This humiliation you feel? That sinking in your chest? That powerlessness? That's what I grew up with. That's what you made me live with every single time you reminded me I was less. I looked at Vanessa now. And you, I said. You never stole a crown. You stole moments. My birthday. My graduation. My mother's memorial. You mocked me when I had nothing. And now that I have something, you say I'm too proud? I just wanted one day, Vanessa whimpered. You got it, I said. And you used it to tear someone down. Vanessa shook, mascara running. I leaned close and whispered, "I would have supported you, even loved you like a sister if you ever once treated me like family." Then I stepped back, and Cole gently held out his hand. I took it. He looked at me like I was the only thing in that ballroom that mattered. We turned to leave. And that's when the applause started.
Soft.
Hesitant. From the back of the room. Then another. Then another. Until it was thunder. Not for Cole.
For me.
I didn't expect the applause.
Not from them.
But it didn't come from the loudest ones. Not the mockers. Not the manipulators. It came from the quiet guests. The ones who had sat and watched everything in silence, ashamed now, maybe, or finally awake. A woman near the corner dabbed her eyes. A man at the far end nodded, almost in respect. Vanessa sat stiffly in her chair, veil slipping to the side, staring at the remnants of a wedding that was never really hers to begin with. Her groom stood behind her, hand on her shoulder, but he wasn't looking at her.
He was looking at me.
My stepmother stayed rooted where she stood, white-knuckling the edge of the table, still in disbelief that the power she once held was gone, shattered in seconds by the very girl she once labeled a nobody. Uncle Jared gripped the foreclosure file with trembling hands. His breathing was shallow. His world had just flipped upside down, and he couldn't scream his way out of it this time. I took one last look at the ballroom. The chandeliers still sparkled. The music had gone quiet, but something in the air had shifted. Something permanent. Cole leaned close to me. "Say the word, and I'll buy the rest of the guest list too." I smiled. "No need. I think they got the message." He held out his hand. I took it. As we walked toward the grand exit, I passed the very table where Vanessa had sneered at me 2 hours ago. I paused, just for a second, and looked her in the eye. "Don't worry," I said quietly. "I forgive you." Her lips parted like she wanted to respond, but she didn't. Because what do you say to the girl you tried to destroy when she just walked through fire and came out radiant? We stepped outside. Cool air kissed my skin. The sky had turned indigo, stars blinking above us like the universe had been watching the whole time. A sleek black car waited at the curb, engine purring softly. Cole opened the door for me. Before I got in, I looked back one last time. I had walked into that place's shadow, the family embarrassment, the whispered name on everyone's lips. And I left walking like a queen. Not because of diamonds. Not because of money. But because I never let their hate define me. And they knew it now.